You hear me?
I can hear you. You sound fine. We're going live in about 3 minutes, or actually 1 minute. Can you hear me now? I can hear you. You sound fine. Going live in about 3 minutes, or actually 1 minute. Can you hear me now? I can hear you. You sound fine.
Shalom, covenant keepers and children of Israel. You're listening to Awaken to Torah Ministries, where spirit and truth converge. We are a listener-supported ministry and ask that you prayerfully consider supporting this work. This ministry is focused on revealing the message of Torah as taught by our Jewish Messiah, Yeshua. Your donation will be used to further the ministry devoted to exposing the lies that we have inherited from our forefathers, as Jeremiah 16:19 clearly declares. You can contact us at 77690 South 46A Road, Stillwell, Oklahoma 74960, or join our mailing list at awakentotorah@gmail.com. We look forward to meeting you when we once again are sheltered by a cloud by day and on fire by night, on our way to Jerusalem. Shalom Aleichem, and we'll see you there.
Right, Shalom Aleichem, covenant keepers and children of Israel. I'm your host, James Gillespie. As you can see, I got my earphones on tonight because my little earbuds that I normally wear, for some reason, was really distorted tonight. I restarted the computer a couple times and the sound was still distorted. But tonight you got me and Mr. Ryan Noel. Let me see if I can pull him on the screen. Nope. How about there? There he is. You can say hi to everybody, Ryan. Mr. Chris Jones won't be joining us tonight. He said he had a full day and just didn't feel up to it. So, which is totally understandable. So you got me and Ryan tonight, which is, what more could you ask for? Yeah. So it's been 2 weeks since we've been on, and last week we actually had a little bit of storm out at the lake, but there was no way we could be on last week because we were out at the lake. It was the weekend of Shabbat, and so a lot of us decided to go out to the lake and just hang out there for the weekend. And the week before, we had some storms come through and weren't able to do a show. So now, 3 weeks later, here we are on the Tents of Israel, my glasses are really glaring for some reason. I just noticed that I'll try to keep my head down or something because it's really got a glare coming off the screen. Actually, I don't even have to wear glasses unless I'm reading. But this week, the last 2 or 3 weeks, those who really know me know that I can't stand social media. But anytime you have a large ministry, you almost have to be on social media. I try to limit that as much as possible. I think now we're on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. I kind of want to move away from Facebook even. It causes me a lot of gastro problems. Let's just say it like that. Stomach aches. People on there just belly aching all the time about one thing or another. Always got something nasty to say. Never anything of any real value, though. I mean, if we were violating the Torah, if we were doing something wrong, if there was some constructive criticism, I think those who know me know that I am way open to that kind of stuff. And even if you just, don't like the message we're teaching, give me the chance to win you over, that kind of thing. But when you're just going to go around and run your mouth about us behind our back like we don't know you're doing it, you have to realize we have, if we put all of our listeners together, Facebook, YouTube, old people from the radio broadcast, we have somewhere around 30,000 people that tune in to us periodically. And somebody is going to, if you're in this faith and you're anywhere near our atmosphere, somebody's going to see what you're saying about us and they're going to bring it to us. And I'm just telling you, from me, it hurts my feelings. I used to say, it don't bother me, but it does. I mean, it hurts my feelings, not necessarily when it's people that I don't know, but people that I do know and that I felt like kind of knew me a little bit better than that. It kind of bugs me a little bit. But I just pray about it and go on because I know that that's what's going to happen. And that's kind of what our topic's going to be on tonight. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world. I mean, I'm sure Ryan's got a bunch to say about Trump's rally down in New York, this week, and the court case and everything's going on in the financial world right now. I want to talk some about all of the weather events that we've been having. But before we do that, Ryan, I wanted to jump into this little bit of scripture and teaching that I got going on here. I think I got about 4 slides. So if you want to, just hang out for a second and I'll jump over there to that screen and give everybody you can see that screen there. Let me see if I can start the slideshow from the beginning. And then let's just jump over to that monitor. Not that monitor. And not that monitor. Okay. For some reason, my monitors are messed up. Hey, there's one. Let's try that one. And it seems like it works. Let's see. There's a Samsung monitor with a cam. Okay. So need to restart the monitors, I guess. I think we've had all that sorted out. But we haven't been using those other monitors lately, so I've just been kind of skipping around on them. But as you can see, I wrote an article this week and posted it today on Facebook. I think I titled it Mockers, Scoffers, something else, and those who are basically disregarding any kind of leadership. But this is a message that I'm planning on doing tomorrow at synagogue. So as always, tune in there and you'll get a different version. But tonight, let's just kind of go over the scriptures that I have here. We're going to try to make 3 points: mockers and scoffers, persecution, and the judgments to those who reject leadership. That's what we're going to be talking about. To start out, let's just start out with mockers and scoffers. The Proverbs 1:22 says, "How long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge." So these people that do this, I mean, I'm just going to read the scriptures and then we'll talk about the concepts of it here in just a second. Proverbs 9, 7, and 8. He that reproveth a scorner getteth himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Okay, so I mean that scripture right there, if you just read it at face value, it's kind of confusing because it's saying, don't even try to reprove a scorner. And honestly, I mean that's what he's saying. Don't just let them be a scorner, because that's all they're going to be. They're not going to come around to your way of thinking. And the more you engage with them, it's just going to bring shame on you. And that's why we try not to engage with these people on a public forum. That's why I'm not calling them by name. Again, I wish that they would call me and sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with me, because I don't have an ounce of coward in me, and I would love to talk to them face-to-face, but they don't feel the same. So if they would give me that opportunity, I would love to see what has caused them to be the way they are. I doubt that will ever happen. But I'm not going to engage with them in a public forum. I'm not going to. I know some people keep messaging me and they're like, you need to respond. No, I don't. I don't need to respond, because all that's going to do is just bring shame upon us and shame upon the ministry. Because although I try to be above that kind of stuff, I do have feelings, and sometimes I get in them. And that's all right. God made me a human just like He made everybody else. But being in leadership, sometimes we have to rise above that kind of thing. But Proverbs 14:6 says, the scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understands or understandeth. Proverbs 21:24, proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth with proud wrath. Okay. Honestly, I don't even know what I honestly don't know what the problem with some of these people are. Every conversation I've had with them been polite. In fact, I thought that I mean, I'm talking about the ones I know, not the normal wackos. I don't even pay attention to those. But well, I do pay attention to them, but I don't let that enter in. So the ones that I'm talking about is ones that I've actually had conversations with, and as far as I know, have never even had a rough conversation with these people. But for some reason, they have taken a spirit of an offense against me and are trying to create a spirit of offense in me, which if you know me very well, I don't take offense to much. But I will expose evil, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to expose evil. That's why Awaken to Torah exists, because we want to dispel the lies and expose the evil that is trying to corrupt us in our faith. And for almost 30 years, we've been doing a pretty good job of that. But 2 Peter 3:3 says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust. Okay. And so all of this, scoffing and all of these things, the scriptures tell us about them. They tell us how to deal with them. They tell us that we're going to experience it. All of that thing. All of these mockers. If you want to go read the article that I wrote, I kind of go into a little bit more detail about each one of these personality traits and what's the purpose behind it, what's the intent behind it. But I just wanted to go through some scripture tonight before we get into the rest of it. So jump over here to the next one. Go to straight to persecution. Matthew 5:10-12. Yeshua, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. And I know he said blessed here, but I'm just telling you, sometimes it don't feel like I'm being blessed. Sometimes it's it's a little wounding. But I know that the blessings that come from Him are way outweigh any kind of cursing, any kind of persecution that we could receive from anybody else. And because we are so blessed, I think that that's why we maybe draw a lot of that persecution, because the haters are going to do what haters do. They're going to continue to hate, and people who are blessed and serving the King of Kings, they're going to continue to be blessed. And so that's the path we're staying on. Our frequency is trying to stay high. We're trying to put on the mind of Christ. We're trying to elevate our consciousness to His consciousness. So we'll leave them people where they're at. I'm not going to allow them to bring us down, but I felt as though we needed to do some kind of response, because, as I said, that a lot of the people that are doing it now have attended some of our ministry events, and it's confusing some other people. So this is my response to that, and it's probably the only response I'm going to make to that. Let me finish this one. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. He didn't say it's going to be on here on earth. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So he's telling us that we're going to be I didn't say prostituted. No, full crop persecuted. So when we look at this scripture here, and we start seeing that the Messiah is telling us, that they're going to persecute us, but make sure that they're doing it for righteousness' sake. And that's where we absolutely have the high ground at Awaken to Torah. Is not one of these people. They got little slide things, cult leaders do this and cult leaders do that, and then they try to draw a parallel between something we've said and their statement. It's a straw man argument, and anybody who's familiar with that tactic, it's easy to see through. But some people aren't familiar with it, and it kind of sets them back for a second. But the core of their accusation has nothing to do with the violation of Torah. It's just a schoolyard picking at you, nanny nanny boo boo comment, trying to get somebody to react, trying to get me personally to act out of my normal character, which my normal character is that elevated frequency, that high frequency that we're trying to always pull everybody up to, and them trying to pull me down to that frequency, and that's what all that little stuff is about. But let's go on. John 15:18-20. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than the Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. Okay, so 2 Timothy, that's kind of self-explanatory. 2 Timothy 3:12, yea, and all that will live godly in Messiah Yeshua shall suffer persecution. So if the Messiah is not a liar, then this has to be true. If we're living righteously, if we are living godly lives, if we are trying to obtain that higher consciousness, the rest of the world, those people who aren't obtaining that, who aren't striving for that, who are not literally putting on the mind of Christ, they are like piranhas. It's like blood in the water to them, because they cannot stand to see somebody on a higher frequency, on a higher level, reaching to higher aspirations than they themselves are, because they are stuck fighting Yahweh to step into the calling that He's called them to. So they have to let that flesh die and seep away from them, and because they won't crucify the flesh like He told them to, they have to persecute you, because if they can bring you down to their level, then it justifies them in the place that they're at. and Yahweh's trying to call them out of that place because everyone has a calling. Every person is the leader of something. When I say that, it always takes me back to a movie I watched many years ago. It was called Hook with Robin Williams, and when he starts realizing that he is Peter Pan in this thing, he's an adult at this point. He starts giving all the Lost Boys jobs, and the littlest Lost Boy there, he said, "Well, what am I in charge of?" And he tells the littlest Lost Boy, he said, "You're in charge of the grasshoppers." So everybody is in charge of something. So everybody in the kingdom has a leadership role in some capacity. In fact, he told us in another portion of scripture that he called us to be a nation of kings and priests. So you have a job. You have a calling. If you are called by name, then he has called you to a purpose. And the longer you kick against that purpose, the more miserable you're going to make yourself. You can't live with yourself. You have to attack other people because you're not happy with where you're at. Okay? If you're happy with where you're at, then if somebody's really messing up, you don't care what they're doing. They're not affecting you. Your consciousness is higher than that. If they're not affecting you, then why am I going to waste time on them? Okay? But because your flesh is what's driving you, because the enemy is there speaking into your ear, you feel like you have to attack those things that are righteous. You have to attack those things that are good. And that's just part of it. But let me continue on. 1 Peter 4:12 through 14. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to you. Let me put my glasses back on because it's starting to get blurry on me. Okay, concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice in so much as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye shall be glad also with exceeding joy. If ye be reproached for the name of Messiah, happy are ye. For the Spirit of glory and of Elohim resteth upon you. On their part, he is evil spoken of, but on your part, he is glorified. So when you're doing those things that are righteous, those things that are upright, you're going to be evil spoken of. Because I don't know if you've ever been in a part of where you've seen a genuine miracle. If you've seen a genuine healing, a genuine miracle, if you've seen those things happen, then there's no denying it. And a lot of these people have been around when they've seen these things happen, when they've seen, little miracles. These people, one kid, cuts his finger, gets it smashed in the tailgate of a truck. That evening, he's completely healed, not even as much as a bruise on his thumb. Another kid gets bit by a spider bite. The redness is going up his leg. Pray for him. You see the redness withdrawing from his leg and the heat coming out of it as we're praying. Just those types of miracles, and they see those things, and it's not, those things aren't happening around them. They're happening around other people. They got to experience it because they were around those people. But when they themselves are acting, because they won't crucify the flesh, they don't see those things happening to them personally. So they walk in this spirit of doubt and this spirit of reproach, where they have to speak out against those other things. And they'll even start to call those things that were good evil. And Scripture tells us that they would do that in the last days. And in doing so, they'll reject leadership. They'll reject those people that the Father has put over them. We don't hear about the miracles that were done around Korah or Dathan, do we? We hear about the miracles that were done around Moses and Aaron. So Numbers 16, 1 through 3, and 31 through 33. Now Korah, the son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abram. Okay, so now I want you to understand that that Korah, Dathan, and Abram are all Levites. Okay, the sons of Elab and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men, and they rose up before Moses. When certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourself above the congregation of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Now here's where we talk about leadership a little bit. Okay, clearly Yahweh is absolutely among all of the children of Israel. He's there. Okay, but do we see Yahweh having personal conversations with Korah, with Kohath, with Dathan, with Abram, with Elidad, with On or Pelah? We don't see that, do we? We see him choosing to use Moses and Aaron. And because they're being used, the spirit of jealousy seeps in on them. If I guarantee you, if it was Korah or Kohath or Dathan that the father had chosen, they wouldn't be having this same conversation with themselves, saying, "Oh, you take too much. You assume that you're a leader." Okay, clearly they knew that Yahweh had chose them to be the leaders. Yahweh never is secretive about who He has chosen to be a leader. I'm going to pull me and Ryan back on the screen here instead of going through the rest of this. There he is. Hey, Ryan. But talking about that, let me pull this screen down so I can see you on the big screen. There you are. But talking about that, when we see true leadership, and I know I've been in the same position that some of these people are in. I've been there, jealous, wondering why Yahweh wasn't using me the way that He was using them, or creating a following behind me the way He had created a following behind them, and I tried the push them down to push me up, tactic at some points in my ministry, and I've been through that gamut, so I fully understand where these people are coming from, and I'm not standing in any judgment over them. I just wish that they could hear this message and avoid the whooping that's coming to them, because I'm gonna tell you, the whooping I got for doing that kind of stuff was not easy. He tore me up, took me down to nothing, and had to build me up again, because he absolutely revealed to me that I am not building James's kingdom. I'm building His kingdom. He will never be made a servant in my kingdom. I will forever be a servant in His. And when we start realizing that, my question is, how do we convey that to these people in such a way that it becomes reality to them? I mean, I honestly, those who really know me, I would love to get behind anybody who the Father is truly using and calling to that. I will lend you every bit of support I could possibly lend you. I'll lend you my whatever name recognition I have. I'll try to pull together a conference for you. Whatever I can do to help you. That's where I'm at. And that's where this ministry is at, because we're trying to grow the kingdom. And I fully understand that I am not the only person that He can grow the kingdom through. So how do we convey that to them, do you think, Ryan?
Well, I've been studying this a little bit, and a lot of people, you're in two places. You're in one or two places. You're in a heart humility space, or you're in a ego driven space.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get challenged, by authority or by a teacher, you're either in one of those two places. You're either in that humility space where your heart, where you're speaking through your heart, or you're in that ego driven place where the ego is trying to protect the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been guilty of it, also. But we've got to step back and we've got to get back into that humble place of being taught, being led, through the Holy Spirit, through our leaders. And if we can't get into that place, you shouldn't just lash out on. I watch your posts on Facebook, and there's people that just plumb lash out. And we really got to be careful, because those folks are not, they're in that ego driven place, and not in that not in that humility place. And it's an issue. It's a big problem, because a lot of people, they think they know more than you, and if you don't agree with them, they're going to lash out and then try to protect their flesh. But it hurts the community.
It does.
And it's not a good thing at all.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize what exactly they're doing to the community and doing to their actual spirit by being in that place.
Absolutely. They're hindering their own witness and their own testimony. And when they do get their weapon, and the Father is able to start using them the way that He wants to use them, I know, because I've been through this. The ladder that you have to climb at that point to restore yourself in those people's eyes that you've diminished your character in, that's a tall ladder. And and it's a hard one to climb, and it requires absolute humility. I try to explain to people, this week or last week I was called a dictator, and I don't know that I've ever given anybody the impression that I was not a dictator, a cult leader. A cult leader is what I was called. Yeah. So those people, I mean, evidently they don't know, but I surround myself with men that I believe have the intestinal fortitude to check me if I'm wrong. Okay, that have the courage to say, I don't know if I can go with you there. I don't know if I agree with you on that. Or hey, have you looked at it this way? Have you looked at that from a different perspective? Those are the men that I want around me, and I like to be that man for those men as well. We have you and Chris and Steve and David, just some wonderful men that the Father has placed around us in this community. Each one of us have a different personality and come at it from a different approach. I'm a more in your face. I'm that old military guy. There's not an ounce of backup. All I know is the word sick 'em. I'm good at sick 'em. I'm not too good at backing up, because I would rather sit down across the table from somebody and tell them everything I have to say face to face than talk about somebody behind their back. That's just not my personality. It's not who I am. And that's what I tell people all the time. If anybody ever tells you I've said something about you that I haven't said to you, then you can say that they're a liar, because I just don't do that. That's not my character. If I haven't said it to you, I haven't said it about you. That's just and I think that that's a good rule of thumb for all men. If you can't say it to them, don't say it about them. That's just the way that should be. I think that makes the character of a man. And calling people out, even these people, I won't. They did not mention me by name, so I'm not going to mention them by name. But the problem is because of who they are and the people that are surrounding them, they know that they know me. So all of those people that you see on Facebook, the real haters that just hate me for no reason. I don't even know why. I don't know half of them. I haven't had a 5-minute conversation with half of them. But when they see somebody who kind of is part of us, and I consider part of us, have a negative opinion about something that I put out, they just jump on that bandwagon and try to build it into something that it's not. And that's same thing they did with Yeshua, the rabbinate of that day and time. Hey, he's stealing our thunder. He whipped us out of the temple. All of that kind of stuff. I mean, they had some negative things to say about him, but if he's standing for righteousness, if you're standing for righteousness, if I'm standing for righteousness, and we don't have accusation against us concerning violations of Torah, and I'm not talking about some made up thing, because you've been in this long enough that you can make anything into a salvation issue. I mean, we're on different calendars. Well, you missed Yom Kippur, so you're going to hell. I mean, that's the crazy stuff that we kind of deal with sometimes. But just a genuine accusation about a violation of Torah, I don't think we've had one of those in about 15 years. And it's all of the nana boo boo, you're ugly, I don't like your beard, and you need to get some Just for Men in it or something. I don't know. But it's just they're mad at me for some reason, and I don't even understand why. Yeah, and David's right. David said, in the chat room there, he said, if they don't humble themselves, they will be humbled. And that's what worries me. That's what worries me about and that's the only reason that I'm trying to do some kind of little warning thing here tonight, because Scripture does say, touch not mine anointed and do my prophets no harm. I'm not mealy-mouthed about what Yahweh has called me to do. I know that his anointing does rest upon me. So in saying that, I'm not saying that I'm above correction. What I'm saying is, if you're touching me wrongly, then Yahweh is going to bring judgment into your life. If you're touching Ryan or David or Chris or Steve or any of these other men, if you're touching them wrongly, I'm not saying if I've done something or if they've done something that needs correction, absolutely. But if you are just being Korah and you're just coming against them for no reason, because of jealousy, because of hatred, because of whatever reason, then you're speaking judgment into your own life and the calamity that is going to come. I mean, I hope it is not the earth opening up and swallowing you like it did Korah. I mean, seriously, I believe that we are coming back into this time when we step into this messianic age, that we're going to start seeing that kind of stuff happen again. The earth's going to open up, swallow people up. People's going to, like Ananias and Sapphira, just die when they start, lying to the Holy Spirit. I mean, people's going to fall over dead, because they offered strange fire before the Father. I think we're going to see that same revelation of Yahweh's power start being revealed once again. Once Hasatan is chained in the bottomless pit and is not able to affect humanity anymore, I think we're going to start seeing this mighty moves of Elohim that is beyond question, beyond contestation. It's just an amazing time that we're coming through. And I know right now there's a lot of scary going on. I mean, anybody who has had their eyes open since the beginning of this year, I mean, it has been tornado after tornado, hurricane after or not hurricanes yet, tsunami after tsunami, earthquake after earthquake. I mean, we're looking here in the United States, but if you look around the world, Turks and Caicos, I saw a thing that the sea had receded back away from the islands. And normally there's a big tsunami coming if that happens. I mean, we're seeing crazy things happen, 90-foot waves in the ocean hitting South Africa. I mean, this is crazy stuff that we're seeing. And so the Father is trying to open some people's eyes, but they're just like, oh, it's global warming, and that's what the enemy does. The enemy tries to come in and take what Yahweh is doing and put a negative light on it, or put a different spin on it. So when Yahweh is doing something, it's masked, and the people who are not awake and are not watching for it can't see it because they're looking at the diversion. If I could paint Satan in your mind as the magician, while the magician is saying, look here, look here, look here, he's doing everything over here. That way you're not paying attention to what the trick is. You're paying attention to what he wants you to pay attention to. And that's what Hasatan does with humanity. He's redirecting your attention away from what Yahweh told you to be focused on. These people, if they were focused on what Yahweh had them focused on, they wouldn't have time to focus on me. They wouldn't have time to focus on this ministry. They just wouldn't, because they would be out trying to do what we're trying to do. We're not getting paychecks here. We're trying to win people for the kingdom. We're trying to open up eyes and ears and minds to come to that next level, to try to put on the mind of Christ. I know I put a little thing out a week or so ago about frequency, and somebody's like, well, watch it. I mean, there's a Messianic brother too. We gotta watch that frequency stuff. That's all paganism and cultic and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you don't understand frequency if that's what you think, because literally, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth was void and without form. And Elohim said that what comes out of your mouth is frequency. So everything that he created after the heaven and the earth, he created with frequency. So if you look at that first verse of Genesis 1, in the beginning, time, Elohim created the heaven and the earth, matter, and space. So the heaven, space, and the earth, matter. So time, space, and matter. Anybody that knows, high school physics, that's physics. Time, space, and matter. So he tells us about time, space, and matter in the very first sentence of Genesis, and then we see everything after that, frequency. So we if we're looking at physics, we should be looking at time, space, and matter. Have you been watching any of that Terrence Howard stuff, Ryan?
No, I don't think so.
So I may be getting his name wrong, but I think it's Terrence Howard. He was on Joe Rogan. He did the Joe Rogan podcast a week or so ago. The guy is clearly a genius. I haven't quite decided whether he's an evil genius or a good genius yet. But clearly his mind is on a genius level. I know, probably when Pythagorean started talking about the Pythagorean theorem, people thought that he was a lunatic. Or when Plato started talking, Aristotle or any of these great philosophers, or Einstein or somebody like that, to most people they just seem like madmen. And that's kind of the category that I put this guy in. Some of the stuff that he talks about is like way above my head. And I like to think that I'm a pretty intelligent guy, but sometimes listening to him, my head just starts spinning, because he's just that intelligent about some of the things that he's saying. And he is kind of upsetting the apple cart. And he's basically saying that all of our science, all of our math is basically a lie. It's a construct that has been fed to us. What got me interested and started listening to it is I heard this little interview that he did with somebody else, and he said that 1 times 1 cannot equal 1. If you have something times something, it can't go back to a singularity. There's 2 there. Okay, so you can't times something times nothing. If you times something times nothing, then of course it's nothing. But if you times something, it has to be more than itself. And so, I was like, okay, in my meager intelligence, that makes absolute sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, it does. You can't times something times itself. That doesn't make sense. But when you times something, it has to be more than itself. And that's the premise that he makes on all of this. And supposedly there's this 6,000-year-old flower of life, I think is what they call it. And he has figured out that, we have been trying to figure it out by straight lines, but there is not a straight line anywhere in creation. Everything in creation is vortices and curves. So why would we be trying to figure out the origins of the universe trying to use straight lines when everything in the universe is circular? And he's figured this flower out that people have been trying to figure out in a two-dimensional space. He's taken it and figured it out in a three-dimensional space. And he did this experiment where he basically reconstructs Saturn with the rings around it, showing, that he's basically saying that he can do away with the gravity that is holding the rings around Saturn. And he does this little experiment in the video, or he shows it in a video, where he basically just does away with gravity. And if he was on Saturn and had the big enough, machine to do it there, he could just do away with gravity there as well. Way above my pay grade. I am not a physicist by any means. I know the things that I know, and he would probably be lost about the things I'm talking about. But I am definitely lost when he starts talking about, the construct of DNA and gravity and 1 + 1. I mean, I thought I knew simple math, but he just proved to me that I don't. So now I have to go back and relook at all of that stuff. But when I think that the more we step into this messianic age, the more that the lies are going to be stripped away. I don't know if you've seen all this stuff, which I'm not a big rap fan or anything like that, but all this stuff going on with P. Diddy and black culture right now. I mean, it's like everybody's exposing everybody. Everybody's just standing up and just ratting everybody out in the whole community. I mean, I guess Sean Diddy Combs has now left the country. And I mean, just this crazy exposing of wickedness that is coming out right now about these people. I think that that's what has to happen. And I think that this is just like somebody just scratched the tip of the iceberg. And when the snowball starts rolling downhill, it gets bigger. So the people it's going to start collecting as it rolls downhill are going to start being bigger and bigger and bigger names. And we're gonna see them all being exposed. I mean, I don't know if you heard about TD Jakes and I mean that's what perked my ears up to it, because of being a man of faith. TD Jakes runs in that circle of believers, even though he's Christian. If it was a Christian, a rabbi, or a messianic, I would pay attention to that. And because his name got thrown into the mix there, I always kind of felt, something was a little bit off with the guy. But out of those big names, he was one of the more sound guys that I would kind of listen to every once in a while, because he had some good thoughts on faith and family, and that's kind of where we want to be around is ministering to husbands and wives and parents in parenting their children. So I would listen to T.D. Jakes every once in a while. So when his name got dragged into it about sex outside of marriage and maybe some pedophilia, I started paying attention, and now it's this whole culture in the background, and they're actually got a term for it now. If you were in show business as a young kid, and you were molested, they call it you got diddied. So I mean, that's how corrupt this whole thing is becoming. But I think that that's the era that we're living in, that all of this corruption is going to have to be exposed. All of the lies and all the evil is going to have to be rooted out of the world, and it can't keep being concealed. So all these people who know this stuff are going to have to keep bringing it out. I know with the financial system, with the political system, I mean, I watched a little bit of the stuff that, I'll let you speak to this here in a minute, that happened with Donald Trump through the court case the last 3 weeks. And I mean, they literally have nothing on this guy. Even the misdemeanor case that they say initiated this, that's not even a case. I mean, they haven't proven that he had knowledge of anything. So how can you try to arrest him even of a misdemeanor for an accounting error that he didn't make. He didn't make the accounting error. So that whole thing just doesn't make sense. And I think more and more people are waking up to that. And the rally that he threw in the Bronx, I think last night 10,000, 20,000 people showed up in the Bronx for Donald Trump, where he's supposed to be hated and despised. And then little Miss poor AOC, somebody needs to get her a helmet. I think she's banged her head against the wall too many times. she really needs a helmet, because she tried throwing a counter rally and I guess like 15 people showed up. That poor thing. She probably thought her she can't do math either, so I think she think her crowd rally was as big as Donald Trump's. I don't know, but it's hilarious to kind of watch the way these Democrats are just spinning. I mean, they are just spinning out of control. Have you seen any of that going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You take all these illegal aliens and you dump them in New York, you dump them in Chicago, and now all of the blacks are like, you know what? We're voting for Trump.
Yeah,
because these illegal aliens, they're taking over. It's an organic grass movement, and I thought it was going to move along a lot faster than what it is, but it's not. It's just an organic movement to really wake the people up. And this illegal immigration, and these guys are, these illegals are beating people up in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And these folks, these black folks, they see that. They live in these streets. They see that, and they're starting to get fed up. And so, I mean, it's a movement. It's a movement that's gaining traction. And what Trump did, going right there into the belly of the beast and doing what he did. I mean, it just made him more popular. Yeah. There's I don't know. I mean, I heard there was could be close to 50 to 100,000 people showed up at that rally. I mean, it's just mind blowing.
Well, it's confirmed that there was at least 10,000. And you get 10,000 people anywhere. That's a lot of people. I know, the few times I've spoken to, 1,000, 1,500 people over the years, and just that many people. I mean, it seems like a sea of people when you're up there speaking. So I can't imagine 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, out there in front of you. I think you just have to close your eyes and go. But, I love what he did. He just got up there and said, look, he spoke to their community. The reason you're having these hardships is because of this. The reason you're having these hardships is because of this. The reason you're having these hardships is because of this. But he didn't just point out the reasons. He said, hey, and I have a solution. Here's the solution to that problem. And here's the solution to that problem. And I think as long as he does that, I think he could go to California. And if he went there and spoke to them in that same manner, he might carry all 50 states. It would not surprise me. I mean, if he started hammering this thing down, I mean, Minnesota, he had a 20 supposedly lost by 26 points. Now he's within the margin. That's unheard of. I don't from one presidency to the next, you've gained 26 points in one state. That's just unheard of. And it's people didn't realize everything that he had done for this nation for the 4 years he was in, because the media was withholding all that information about all the job creation, lowest black unemployment in history, lowest women unemployment in history, the lowest Hispanic unemployment in history. I mean, he was, if we could name him anything, he was the jobs president. Okay, he basically had the border shut down. Mexico, stay in the first country that you come to. That's where you file for asylum. So the Remain in Mexico policy, all of that kind of stuff is just stuff that he did, but the media hid from the public. Because I honestly think, some people are just crazy uber liberals. Okay, they're never going to vote for a Republican no matter what. I mean, if they're the crazy people that set their self on fire in the Capitol steps. That's the kind of crazy I think they are. They're just never going to vote for Trump. But people with common sense, they're waking up. They are starting to realize, $5 Big Mac now costs me $12.50. Just 4 years ago, this same Big Mac wheel was $5. Now it costs me $12.50. You shouldn't be eating Big Macs. I'm just telling you, that stuff's disgusting. It's killing you. Don't be eating that stuff. But if you do, you realize that 4 years ago, a Big Mac meal cost you $5 and some change. This year cost you $12 and something. A double quarter pounder cost you $12.50. It's crazy. That's not double. That's way more than double. Okay. But Joe Biden says inflation was 9% when he took office, when in reality it was 1.3. And 1.3 is what inflation is under great presidents. So people are starting to look back and go, well, no. Even during COVID, the only reason that inflation went up to 1.3 is most people forget for the last year of Donald's presidency, we had COVID. We were all in lockdown. Everybody was getting that free money. So, of course, you had some inflation. When you're throwing trillions and trillions of dollars, free dollars into the market, that people are just spending, going and buying, that 80-inch big screen TV that they never had the money to buy before. Now you drive down into any trailer park around here and you got 80-inch screen TVs on the walls. You never seen that before COVID, but you do now. So, but I think that all of that stuff is being exposed. I think the same way that, we're exposing, the evil in the church, that the Father is exposing the evil in the world. And there is this correction, because that's what a pendulum does. It swings hard one way and hard back the other way. So I think we're starting to see that pendulum swing. I thought the last time when Donald Trump was elected, I thought that there would never be another Democrat elected for probably 70 years after all the corruption, of the Obamas and all that kind of stuff. And call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I think an average election, there's 110 million people that vote, and we had 80 some million for a brain dead guy who never left the basement of his house, and 70 million for a president when most people were afraid to leave their house because they were being lied to about a pandemic. So you're going to tell me we had the greatest turnout in electoral history in the middle of a pandemic when people were afraid to leave their house? So I think there's something very suspicious about the 2020 election. Okay, I believe whatever. You don't have to agree with me, but I believe that Donald Trump was cheated out of that election. I believe that he probably won by 30 points, and they just absolutely cheated him out of it. You had the blue hair liberals that they voted often, multiple times, and early. So I think that there was some votes for Biden, but I don't think there was anywhere near what there was for Barack. Come on, guys. America was clamoring for a black president because we wanted to put the stigmata of racism behind us, and we thought by electing a black president, the highest office in the land, that we once and for all could put that history at least put the fire out on it. Let it maybe smolder and with some steam coming off of it. But we thought we could put the fire out by electing our first black president. And you're gonna tell me that a brain dead guy got more votes than the first black president in American history? I can't see that happening. I mean, that's the Democrats. Every Democrat that I can imagine, that I know, even though I felt like he was, up until Biden, I thought that he would rival Carter in the damaging aspect of his presidency. I think that he rivaled Carter. But every Democrat I knew loved Barack Hussein Obama. And you're going to tell me that he got 30,000 more votes. Biden got 30,000 more, or 30,000 more votes than he did? Or 30 million more votes, right? Yeah, 30 million more votes than Barack Hussein Obama did. I don't know about that.
And to add to that is, they had the Dominion voting machines with Barack Obama.
Uh-huh.
So how much did they cheat just to get him in there?
Yeah, I mean,
they've been rigging these elections for a long time.
Well, I'd agree with you. We live in the South, though, so it's few and far between for me to run into a dyed-in-the-wool blue hair. You don't see them much. Every once in a while you will, but you don't see them much. But I have been to New York and different places that there are a bunch of liberals there. A bunch. I call them blue hairs. I don't even want to call them liberals. Like they are. It's like they're lemmings. One of them dyes their hair blue. All of them's got to dye their hair blue. I don't know what that's about. I guess they have to prove to the world that they're on the Democratic side by dyeing their hair Democrat color, blue. So I don't know. But I realize that there's a bunch of them. But even when I was in New York, it was like a 50-50 thing. Here in Oklahoma, it may be like a 95-5 for Republicans. When I was in New York, it may be a 50-50. I mean, there was always some discussion, but every New Yorker that I knew, they loved Trump. I mean, they love Trump. How did he lose that state by 20 some points? His home state. That doesn't make sense to me. Dominion voting machines took dominion over the election, is what I believe.
They did.
But
they take the mail-in ballots, they get them counted, and then they take a pause during the election night.
Kick everybody out.
To figure out how many more votes they need to inject. Yep. And they inject it at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just completely rigged.
Well, I know you were probably like me about 11 o'clock. Trump won this thing. It was over. I mean, he was ahead millions and millions of votes. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and he lost. I'm like, what? What happened? I mean, that was the craziest. And I've been those who seriously, I have been an avid follower of politics since I was 9 years old. I know that makes me a weirdo, but when I was a little kid, I remember Carter being president. I remember Ronald Reagan getting elected, and taking over from Carter. I remember Ross Perot jumping in the mix and costing us the election with Bill Clinton. I remember all of that stuff. I have never seen in history what I saw from basically 2008 till now. And so I think that they've been cheating since about 2008. Could be more. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's probably been going on longer now. I think Reagan got in, but they gave him a gut punch.
100%. When Reagan got in, Reagan was most people don't realize it, and I made me think of it. All this uprising with the anti-Jewish sentiment and pro-Hamas rallies on all these college campuses. Most people don't remember Ronald Reagan when he was governor of California and the whole Berkeley uprising out there. He pulled in the National Guard. He didn't use rubber bullets. He shot them kids in the face, or told the National Guard to shoot them kids in the face with birdshot. I mean, he was putting eyeballs out, but that riot was over within a couple of hours. And he didn't care what people thought about it, and that's probably what got him elected. That cowboy was one cowboy you didn't want to mess with, but after he became president, if you look at his presidency, I see a big turn when they tried to assassinate him. He went into that hospital, one guy, and he came out the hospital, and his whole policy changed after the attempted assassination. So they got to him, and anybody with any political sense knows that that's what happened. Glenn says somebody's moving to Fayetteville. I don't know, or I don't know who. They're all moving to Fayetteville. I don't know. Maybe he's talking about all these politics. But
the blue hairs there's a lot of blue hairs.
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of liberals moving in over there for sure. Well, Austin too. I mean, Austin used to be one of the coolest cities in the world. You can't go down to Austin now. It's overrun by debauchery, homosexuality, trans. I mean, you pick your poison. It's running the streets wild in Austin right now. And, me being an old Texas boy, that kind of makes me sick to my stomach, because when I was a kid growing up, there wasn't anywhere I couldn't go in Texas and feel comfortable. But there is now. I definitely would not feel comfortable going to Austin.
Well, Houston's no better.
Oh, Houston's getting about the same way? Yeah, it's, but, before we burn rubber out of here, we're already over about 6 minutes, but have you heard anything else about the financial thing? I mean, been a couple times in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I thought that they were about to pull the trigger and the stock market was going to crash and this whole thing was going to blow up. But it seems like they just keep propping it up a little here and a little there.
Well, what I heard a couple days ago, the Japan, their bond market collapsed.
Okay,
they propped it back. Their dollar, their yen is collapsing, and they are the biggest holders of our bonds.
Right. So
it's got to be just a matter of time, because Japan can't keep propping it up, and that's just going to be a trickle down effect. Well, it's not going to be a trickle down; it's going to be a flood.
Yeah, it's going to be a. They think 1929 was a bad year, or 26, whenever that was. I forget what they call it, Black Wednesday or whatever that was. Stock market collapsed. People was jumping out of windows. You talk about some of these hedge funds managers. If some of those hedge funds just get turned underground in an afternoon, I can't imagine. I can't imagine the fallout from that kind of stuff. I mean, stock market right now is what, 26,000. I have
no. It hit 30, didn't it?
I'm not sure. I don't really watch the.
This week it hit 30,000. It made an all-time high, and then it pulled back. It lost 600-700 yesterday, and then today it was 0. It didn't lose or gain anything today. So
okay,
yeah, it's silver broke out at 30. A lot of these big banks are all short silver.
Yeah,
all them silver contracts. Bank of America, every dollar silver goes up, they lose $400 million. They went up $4 in about a 10-day period. So there's a big squeeze. The AMC squeeze is still on. They're squeezing those hedge funds, guys, because they're short the market. So these short guys they're in trouble. They're draining it.
Yeah.
So it matters.
Well, I think the only thing that maybe survive out of any of this is all the AI stuff like AMD and Nvidia and those people that are driving all the AI on the back end of it. Computer chips and memory and all that kind of stuff. But I don't see much of the other surviving. I mean, it's been being propped up for way too long. Bitcoin might come out of it all right, but I think even that's going to have to tumble when the market does. When we come out on the other side, that's probably going to be how the currency is now transferred, because they can keep a watch on every Bitcoin the way it's transferred. So I don't know if there's going to be physical cash or Bitcoin transfer or however all that's going to look. But the same way we went to this currency, we'll move to another currency. That's the way of the world. That's the way that stuff kind of goes. And they have to bring the economies of the world to. I mean, and I know, no fiat. In fact, this fiat currency right now has way outlived its usefulness. Most fiat currencies 50 to 100 years and they're done. And we've been on this fiat currency for a little bit longer than that, so it's time that it collapses. It's just the way history of economics work. If you don't have an asset backed currency, it's doomed. It's inevitably going to crash. So we're just bracing for that. So I've just been praying, asking the Father what to do and what to invest in and that kind of stuff. And he hasn't given me any stock tips. We'll just say it like that. So
the House, I did see where the House passed legislation banning CBDC, central bank digital currencies. And so that Charles Schwab he stepped down, leader of the Economic Forum.
Yeah.
He stepped down this week. That was big. But yeah, they're going to ban the central bank digital currencies. That's just a banker coin that they can track.
Well, they have to. I mean, if you went to a central bank digital currency, it's just another fiat currency. I mean, it's the same currency we got now, just giving them more control. But like Bitcoin and all of that, I think that when all of that does crumble, when it comes back, it's going to be asset based. I hope that that's the case, because I pick up trash and paper out of my yard every day that ain't worth anything, throw it in a pit and burn it. So paper's not worth much. And carrying around this paper in your pocket that says 100 on it, especially with today's inflation, it's just not worth much anymore. I mean, people used to carry around 10s and 20s in their pocket. Now people carry around 100s in their pocket because that's the only way they can get through a day. It's craziness the way that this whole thing is just in 4 years. I mean, in 4 years, who could imagine that we would be where we're at now? 4 years ago, me and you were talking, and I think that we thought that this whole thing would be over by now. And we would be in a whole different place and a whole different, talking about a whole different thing today. But for whatever reason, the Father is allowing this thing to stretch out a little bit longer. I think he's trying to give some people a little bit more time before we do step into that Messianic age. He's basically saying, get on board. And that would be our message tonight from the tents of Israel. Come get in the tent, because if you ain't in the tent, you ain't making it. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. The same way it was at the Black Friday. Is that what it's called? Black Friday? Black Monday? Yeah, it was Black Monday, wasn't it? Yeah, Black Monday, when people were jumping out of the windows in the stock market. You have to realize that money is most of the world's God. And when the money is gone, when the currency is gone, I mean, you got these people still out there faking bacon and living on credit card. We're several $trillion in debt now, and credit card debt, the highest credit card debt we've ever had in this country. And when people don't have credit cards anymore and they can't fake it to their friends like they're keeping up with the Joneses, no pun intended, they'll blow their own brains out because the illusion's gone. And it'll be exactly what the Bible says. They'll be crying for the rocks to fall upon them. And I think we're getting really close to seeing that happen. And not just in America. I think it's a global thing. When we see the economies of this world just brought to nothing, we're going to see this big transition, and people are going to come out on the other side and say, never again. We're not going to allow this to happen ever again. And they're going to put things in place to make sure that it doesn't happen. Because when it happened before, the population of the world couldn't communicate like they can now. Now we have worldwide communication. We can communicate with Tokyo right now. I can pick up the phone and call somebody in Tokyo if I knew anybody. I don't know anybody in Tokyo. But if I did, I could call somebody in Tokyo and have a real-time conversation with them right now. So I think that's where the world's headed, and we're just the people of the world has realized that they're the ones with the power and not these governments. And any government that tries to control the people and put them back in chains like we've been for the last 150 or 200 years, the people's not going to allow that to happen anymore. And I think that's why we'll call that the Messianic age, just because we're not going to be fooled by them anymore. We're going to be ruled by God. That's what I think. But you got anything else, Ryan?
Well, that's it. No, that's good stuff.
All right. Well, I think we're going to burn rubber out of here. Do what now?
So just be prepared.
Absolutely.
It's your essential. You don't know when you don't know when this is going to happen. You'll wake up one morning and it'll be knocking on our door. Yeah,
all those conspiracy nuts that are prepping, they're going to look like geniuses here in a little bit. Well, for a little while they will until everything resets. But those people that go hungry for a few weeks, I mean, they're probably not going to die, but they're going to go hungry for a few weeks because they thought these people were nuts. If this does happen and there is a collapse, I mean, and you don't have some kind of, I just tell people, always be prepared. I mean, that's just a good Boy Scout rule. I was never in the Boy Scouts, but that's just, always be prepared. And if you don't have a month's worth of food in your house, you're living dangerously. I mean, I remember one year we had an ice storm here that we couldn't even get up the hill for 13 days. So we literally stuck in the house for 13 days. If we didn't have food, I mean, we might have been like that movie Alive, eating each other. But I don't know. But you need to be prepared, okay? That's just the truth of it. It's only smart to have some extra water, some extra food in your house, just in case something happened, tornado, any kind of storm. It doesn't have to be the stock market. You just need to be prepared for whatever's happening. With that said, we love you, but not as much as Yahweh does. And we will see you next time on the Tents of Israel. Shalom, shalom.